Cleveland Charge at home twice this week on Tuesday and Thursday. They're taking on the Raptors 905 squad, which is currently the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. The Charge, the number 3 seed in the Eastern Conference right now. So make sure you head over to Public Hall, support the Charge, get your tickets at clevelandcharge.com, and hopefully we see you at Public Hall on Tuesday and Thursday night. Speaking of the Charge's parent team, the Cleveland Cavaliers, FanDuel has updated its odds to win the Eastern Conference since the James Harden acquisition. And in your guys' tenure as sportscasters, sports commenters, have you guys ever seen odds this close for this many teams in a conference this late in the season? The Pistons currently plus 310, the Cavs plus 340, the Knicks plus 350, and the Celtics at plus 390. Then there's a major drop-off to the 76ers at 12-1 odds. Jason, Jay, can you guys ever remember a time where 4 teams were that close together 50 games into the season? And if you had to choose, and Jason, we'll start with you, we'll go around the horn, who should be the favorite in the Eastern Conference right now? Is it the James Harden-led Cleveland Cavaliers?
No, it should be the Pistons because they've been the best team all year. It doesn't mean they're going to be the team standing at the end, but, I mean, you can't discount everything that they've done this year. JB's done a great job up there, so they should be the favorites. I'm curious to see what happens to those odds if Jason Tatum comes back, because it seems like there's an indication that he could be back, and obviously it'd be a huge boost to the Celtics if he does. So they may change again. Do I remember? I mean, in the West, it seems like there's always a couple of teams clumped together. In the East, no, I don't remember in East quite like this, especially, I mean, when LeBron was absolutely dominating for a decade. But to get that many teams that close together, it'll be a fun playoff. I'm looking forward to the postseason, and by that point, the Cavs should have kind of a rhythm between Harden and Donovan and figuring out how they want to play together. The Knicks, there's no team in the East that's going to be scared of the Cavs. Like, they're just not. But Harden does change it a little bit, changes their dynamic and their complexion a little bit. But I don't think that the Knicks would be trembling to play the Cavs. I don't think that the Pistons would be trembling to play the Cavs. But I said last week I love the trade. I think it was a great trade. And they put themselves square in the center of contention in the East.
I think the only time I can remember that is 2018 was a funny year. I think during that time period, I think it was one of the lowest seeds that the Cavs had got. They was playing terrible. They kind of figured out, and they got to, I think, be the 5th seed or something, maybe 4th.
Man, I don't remember now.
But
you're right. It was a lower seed.
They played in the first round. They played the Pacers, and they drove them to 7 games.
Yep.
After that, they got the Raptors. That was with DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry. And then they got the Celtics, and they won the game 7 on the road against Boston. So that was kind of jumbled a little bit during that time frame, kind of a little bit. So that's the only thing I could think of. But, nah, man, I'm going to give it to, you know what I'm saying, I like what Jason said. Like, those teams have played together for a substantial period of time. You know, the Pistons, you know, they've been playing together. They've been doing their thing. And I can't just now discount that because you got a new player. It's going to be some growing pains with James Harden. They're going to have to figure it out for them to work and get to an optimum point where they need to play enough basketball. And the cool thing about Harden is traditionally he just plays. Like, he's not going to be sitting out games. He plays a lot. So I think that they can find an opportunity to get on the same page. And the way his game is played, because he does have the ball and they are running pick and roll. And when he said, I'm not part of the system, I am the system. Like, James Harden is going to have the ball and he's going to figure out what the defense is doing and he's going to operate off that. So it should cut down on the time to get, you know, together and understand what you need to be doing. But the Cavs is right up there. And they might not be scared of them, but the different thing, and for people that like Darius Garland, shout out to Darius Garland. Let's be clear. Darius Garland is not James Harden. Like, I think sometimes we may get an idea like we got a guy, we developed him, but there's nothing about Darius Garland's game that is better than James Harden. Like, especially from a passing standpoint, from a health plan standpoint of I'm going to play, from a standpoint of he's not going to, like, when, you know, those 2 shots, I'm not going to say Darius Garland would have knocked those 2 shots down against Sacramento, but he had no qualms about it. He pulled the trigger like, oh, listen, I don't care how long y'all been here. I'm still James Harden. I'm firing this. And so that is the mentality that You know, going into the Garden, James Harden has no problem shooting step backs. Yeah. It's just about whether or not they gonna go in or not. Yeah. So, and now what you can do is, now you got two dudes relatively that you know about. If you didn't have James Harden, ask the question. We talk about playoffs all the time. Are you more confident in James Harden showing up in the playoffs, or Darius Garland, Jared Allen, or Evan Mobley?
There's no question.
There's no question
this team is better.
That now Evan Mobley could go right back to doing the other Mobley stuff because obviously he's not going to be the focal point of offense. So I think they're much better placed to be a legit contender in the East.
Yeah, there's two questions there. I'll answer the should they be favored in the East. I don't know. I think it might have been 07 or 08. I remember a time in the West when they were 1 to 8 was 6 games.
Yeah.
I think it might have been the year the Celtics beat the Lakers in the finals.
Because I know the Lakers and the Spurs.
The Celtics had that was the big three. The Celtics had a ridiculous year, but maybe check the Western Conference Western Conference standings in 07 or 08. I think the 08 season, the NBA championship 08 season. So it would have been 07, 08. Yeah. The whole conference was
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams within 3 games of each other.
Yeah. So I think that's probably there's more parity, deeper teams. It's weird. Jay, on one hand, I can say the Pistons should be the favorite, but we've seen what JB does in the playoffs, and I am not buying it. I'm just not buying it yet. So I don't think I would put them, if I'm betting money. The Celtics thing is interesting to me. They have overachieved with what they have.
Yep.
If they do get healthy, I think I would probably put Boston as the favorite.
I probably would. Well, you got to see if he comes back first. You got to see what he looks like.
Yeah.
But
if he's able to come back with, say, 10 games left in the regular season, I wouldn't want to play him in the playoffs. Yeah. No way. But if you go strictly off roster, I don't know how you argue against this roster being the best roster in the East. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah.
When you and I agree to a T on basketball takes, I usually feel pretty bad about it.
Then I feel pretty smart.
I could not agree with you more right now.
Perfect.
With the Pistons, this is going to blow your mind. You ready? Mm-hmm. The Pistons and the Thunder are the same amount of losses this season.
Yeah, I know.
The Pistons are 38-13, and there's nothing about them that says it shouldn't work in the playoffs. They have one guy who can get a bucket when needed, and Cade Cunningham.
And what happens in the playoffs?
Heliocentric teams like that in the playoffs.
We've seen it.
They get slugged down.
Yep.
They need to prove it to me before I actually take them.
I'm with you on that.
As serious. And when it comes to James Harden, I understand his playoff woes are what they are, but he's going to be there. And you look at last year in particular, Darius Garland wasn't there.
Right.
And if they had someone that could just dribble across half court, they win game 2. And that whole
That's
playoff
crazy.
series.
And Harden will be,
if nothing else,
James can dribble.
James Harden can dribble past half court. Zach Lowe.
Come on, he can do a lot of. What do you mean? If nothing else,
I'm just saying that. At a
just with that. Okay,
just with that, James Harden's ability to cross half court by himself by dribbling,
or his ability to put on a pair of basketball shoes and step on the floor.
Ty Jerome and
So
Sam Merrill was getting trapped.
They're ceiling,
like it was high school.
Yeah, Jason said it, and it was the most accurate thing we thought. They literally could not get the ball past half court. It was 4 straight possessions in game 2 at home. They could not get the ball past half court. Donovan got called for an offensive foul. They had 2 turnovers.
That might be one of the outside of the LeBron era, but that was one of the most
miserable
gut-punching losses I think I've ever watched.
I was devastated.
James Harden raises the ceiling, and the odds you can see they're all close together. The Celtics also, by the way. Just the way they play should scare anyone because they make so many threes. They shoot so many threes. They could shoot you out of the building. They can shoot themselves out of a series. I like the Cavs, and I think they should be considered the favorites. And I can't believe I'm saying that after 2 weeks ago. Had I said that, y'all would have said,
you crazy.
I'm crazy.
Yeah, but they made, and we basically said, what trades are they going to make? What deal are they going to make?
I was going to make this point earlier.
Kobe pulled it off.
Shout out, man, listen, Kobe Altman. I gotta even call you this brother right here, dog. This crazy. How do you keep finding these moves, bro? Like when they need whatever Dan Gilbert level of pressure he's being put on him. That's the level of pressure needs to be put on Kobe Altman at all times because he finds deals where it's just like you just got the time before we needed they got Donovan Mitchell. We like, what?
Yeah.
How'd you get that off? Then we thinking, okay, Jason said Darius ain't got no. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Who we trade Darius to? For what? And they said, hold on. We're going to give up a second round pick in Darius for James Harden. And then I looked at James Harden's number because, you got to look at it. Let me see what Harden doing. I
did the same thing, and I'm like, these can't be this year's numbers.
I said, this is this year?
It was a unique match for both sides because it was a distressed asset for a distressed asset.
Yeah.
Right. Because the Clippers were not finding a very strong market for Harden because of the contract and everything else.
Were either of you guys at the Columbus Sports Awards last week?
No, I wasn't.
I didn't.
No.
No?
No.
They did a really cool thing as part of the program. They did a roundtable from the 16, it's the 10-year anniversary.
Yeah, I saw they had Griff, Shump, and JR.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was really cool. And Griff had I thought he had great insight. I love this question. It's like, what was the journey like? And Griff, didn't hold back. He's like, oh, it was miserable.
Yeah.
Miserable. Because all I was doing, when LeBron James came to the team, I said, it's my job to have nobody know who I am. Do you know who the GM was of the 27 Yankees?
No.
And LeBron said no. And he goes, but you know Babe Ruth. It's my job not to screw it up so people can watch Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
And he said he got no enjoyment out of it. He didn't exhale until the last second was off the clock in Game 7 in Oakland. And it was really an interesting look into somebody who's being very honest and transparent at the time. And I thought about this team and the challenges of putting this team together. And I honestly, last year there was a trade made that we didn't think they could pull off. And in the moment, it looked like a good trade. And we got a lot out of him. What happened to him this year, I don't know. And then
He turned back into DeAndre Hunter.
Yeah, I think the clock struck midnight. And you know what? James Harden may turn back into James Harden next year. But if he can just be James Harden for the rest of 2026, I don't think we can give Kobe enough flowers for what he pulled off.
And you know what? So sometimes somebody tells you something, right? So I'll give Jason his flowers. He said this like a couple years ago. And sometimes you go along and then, you be sitting on the internet and something happens and you be like, oh, well, Jason was right about that. He did say that. Rich Paul is doing that podcast with
Max
Kellerman.
For the Ringer.
And he dropped the gem of, I told Darius Garland, this is last year right here.
Yeah.
Before the season even started. And I'm like, dang, bro. And I remember before, there's a lot of times we be talking, and you're like, listen, man, the Darius Garland trade comments and the trade situation, and then Darius Garland came out and confirmed it and said,
I knew I was getting traded.
Did you know you was getting traded? He's like, yeah, I kind of knew it. And I'm like, dang, Jason said that about 2 years ago, man. It turned about that. You know what? Dang on, that was
right. But we'd all heard that, but I'm like, he's not movable. He's not movable.
But they moved him for another distressed asset.
They did.
And they had to attach a second-round pick to move him.
But like any of us could have thought of that. Well, no, he is movable because what you could do is you could move him for another.
Well,
but that's what Kobe did.
But the Cavs very clearly had a shift in philosophy of Kobe talking about, for years, Kobe said, we have a long runway, we have a long runway, we have a long runway on this. Well, when you trade for a guy 10 years older, you've altered your timeline drastically. And I'm not saying that as a bad thing. I'm saying that as they were saying, we have to do this now.
Yes.
There's
organizational change of
we're
direction.
we're out of runway. The plane has to leave the ground.
Who did that come from? Was that Dan?
I think it was a combination of a lot of things, and
Yeah.
I think a lot of it was the urgency to get Donovan to sign another extension.
And when
you've got to get the plane
and
off
I
the
love
ground.
that. I'm sure it was his agent that leaked that last week that Donovan's not going to resign if they have another early exit in the playoffs. I love that because to me he exerted pressure publicly. So if they would have had if they have a first or second round exit and Donovan gets out of here, Donovan can at least say, "Hey, I told you guys what time it was, and nobody listened."
Yeah.
And so I think the organization felt, "Oh my God, we've got to do something now."
Mike, for years, you would throw out trades about would you trade Darius for
Right.
a guy 8 years older?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't remember now what the exact scenarios were, but for years, And we would always have the debate, well, is it worth cutting down your window, that significantly? And I think the Cavs got to the point of saying, yeah, we have to do this because it gives us a better chance to win right now. And the way the league has changed and the way the CBA has changed, you can't worry about 3, 4, 5 years down the road. No. Like, you got to try and win right now.
I think what happened to him, too, was that window got shortened all the way up when Evan Mobley – they was hoping that Evan Mobley was going to come in and step his game up, and he was going to be the second best player. That didn't happen.
I actually disagree. I think it happened when they realized counting on Darius Garland's toes to get a fully healthy again.
That was my second point.
Yeah.
Them 2 toes, they were like, oh. I think they had long-term questions about him being.
And those are fair.
Ever being completely healed to a point where he plays the way he plays.
It'll be interesting to see now what happens with his career health-wise, because I'd lost all faith in him. Fans, they'd lost faith. I'm sure the front office had lost faith. That's why they dealt him.
Every time he would go for a layup, I would. The meme was my brother used to Darius Garland, he go for a layup, he miss a runner and come down, start hobbling. I was like, man, that's kind of funny, bro. I said it don't be happening then it kept happening, and I'm like, I don't know if that ever gets better. And I get the fact that
it's not just the toes. I mean, it felt like every time he took a hard elbow, he was out.
It was.
Didn't he have an eye? He had a broken jaw.
He's had a ton of injuries.
It's just it was one thing after another with him.
He's got 2 years left, $80 million-ish guaranteed, and the Clippers are rolling the dice that
he can stay healthy.
He can stay healthy.
And the Clippers want all that cap space. I don't know what they want. They don't want nothing on the books.
In 27. Although he's got a deal for his deal extends that far. But I don't know. I mean, we'll see. The Clippers are taking a chance on this. And Darius should be back soon.
They said February 19th was their target date for Darius to play.
So after the All-Star break.
And what's the target for Evan Mobley? Because I need to see that.
Somewhere in that same range.
My hope is we don't need him. Is the Thunder game after or before the All-Star break? I can't remember.
No, they got 2 more than it's the All-Star break. It's after.
Okay, so I would like to see a matchup of the Thunder where we have Harden, Mobley, Mitchell, Allen playing the way he is. I would love to see that, because that could be a precursor of the NBA Finals.
SGA's hurt right now is the only issue. So
yeah, he's hurt for a while too.
When's he get back?
I don't know. I can look that up. I'll get that.
I think it's not long term though.
They said a couple weeks. So
yeah.
It's in the couple-week stretch because they play on the 20th or the 22nd of February.
Yeah, I would love it if both teams could be at full strength. I think that'd be a nice,
It'd be fun.
Nice peak.